Everyone's a liar this week, depending on whom you ask. It started when President Trump falsely accused his predecessors of failing to call the families of deceased soldiers. Maybe it would have ended there too, if Rep. Frederica S. Wilson DFLA hadn't said that Trump dishonored one of those soldiers in his own call with one of her constituents. But she did, and Trump, without any evidence, called her a liar in turn. Trump also said President Barack Obama didn't call current Chief of Staff John F. Kelly when his son died in action, and many replied that while this was not technically a lie, it was at least a misrepresentation. Finally, Kelly spoke up in support of Trump and against Wilson. She claimed that his speech contained lies, too. Really, though, who cares? At almost every turn, the adversaries in this week's squabble have said that it isn't about politics, only to turn around and take political potshots. Kelly said calls with Gold Star families were sacred. In the same speech, he wrongly charged Wilson with taking credit for fundraising for an FBI field office. Wilson lamented on Friday that the focus had moved away from finding out why 4 Americans died in Niger. In that very interview, she accused Kelly of referring to her with a racist term, empty barrel, apparently. Observers have descended into the same narrow-mindedness. On social media, Wilson's critics mock her for wearing colorful cowboy hats and call her a hypocrite for talking about the honor of our troops when she has voted against various Veterans Protection Acts. Her fans have a record to point to as well: Trump's habit and history of spreading falsehoods. They've invented a hashtag to show why I believe Frederica, and their enemies have seized on it too to tell the world why they don't. Trump was wrong to turn a question about whether he had spoken with soldiers' families into an opportunity for Obama bashing. He was also wrong to use Kelly's dead son to prove his point. Wilson, too, may have been wrong to transform a family's pain, even if she shared in it, into another black mark against a president she probably deplores. But continuing to talk only about who isn't a liar is wrong, too. It relegates the tragedy of these soldiers' deaths to the status of a sideshow. Of course, soldiers' deaths are political. If they weren't, there would be no need for the President of the United States to make these phone calls in the first place. Public commentary on an overseas catastrophe is inevitable. There is no way to keep such a thing truly sacred when it is so intimately connected to our country and how it operates. But there are ways to talk about these deaths that don't rob them of their meaning with a never-ending he said, she said. The country needs to know why Sergeant David Johnson and 3 others came home in coffins, and that was where Trump should have started. We should also ask why we are engaged in the conflict that caused their death. We could discuss to what extent the president is responsible for either, and to what extent any president is responsible for the deaths of soldiers during his time in the Oval Office. That last conversation also probes the role of the president as consoler-in-chief in the worst of times. Our belief that it is incumbent on a president to pick up the phone and make an impossible call, just as it is incumbent on him to comfort the nation when all of it is hurting, may say more about us than it does about him.